Hey everybody, this is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. A big shout out to Daily Empress for highlighting not only the video that I did yesterday, but also connecting some dots with an article that was released in Forbes. Now, I think it's extremely important to create awareness around what Harry is really doing here in the United States. America cannot allow this Prince of the UK infiltrate the US government, and that's exactly what he's doing. After I read this article, leave your thoughts in the comment section and let me know how you feel about why the United States is entertaining this clown. The article begins. Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, amid widespread furor over the last royal tell-all book, Endgame, is reportedly embarking upon a total system reboot. Now that Harry's issues with his royal relatives have been aired out, dissected at length in both a best-selling book and an exhaustive media campaign, the veteran Army officer has an interesting opportunity to pursue a more durable and lasting future as a national security tastemaker. Excuse me? National security tastemaker? For who? Not America, I hope. Rather than focus on a fading career as a bon vivant, philanthropist, and B-list celebrity, Prince Harry, by pivoting to defense, can make a far greater impression on the world. Already focused on veterans affairs, Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, can turn to national security affairs and still address their long-standing interests in unleashing the power of compassion to drive systemic cultural change. Wait for it, this gets better. Weighing in on defense policy would be a big and controversial step for this forlorn, Los Angeles-based outpost of the British royal family. Members of the British royal family, even non-working ones, are discouraged from venturing into politically charged discussions. Excuse me, we don't want Harry to be weighing in on our defense policy here in the United States. I think this is a gross disrespect to our country by even our military allowing the thought of this guy doing it. He is no one to be speaking about what our country should be doing in a policy realm. What is going on, folks? But breaking an ossified behavioral norm is nothing new for the rebellious red-haired royal, and even though shrieks of "this won't do" will echo out from Fleet Street tabloids, defense policy offers Prince Harry both continued relevance as well as a viable link to happier times as an officer in the British Army. Well, I think the first step for Prince Harry is 1. Pay your taxes, 2. Become a citizen. Then you will be able to have some kind of voice. But until then, you need to butt out. As a well-spoken, twice-deployed former Army captain with a reputation for frank talk, a policy-minded Prince Harry is an enormous asset for the West's wider defense community. Says who? By engaging, he can make defense policy matter to a general public that largely shuns the topic. At a minimum, Prince Harry is a draw. He attracts headlines, and the public still wants to hear what the exiled prince has to say. No, we don't. I mean, this is now more of a PR press piece for Prince Harry and shaping his brand. I don't like where this is going. By diving into defense and national security policy, yes, you heard that right, folks, national security policy of the United States, the non-working British royal stays relevant. They make this sound like this is some hobby that he's taking up. Like, seriously, go get a hobby, Harry. Go save the rhinos or the extinct dinosaurs, but stay out of our government policies. Harry has no right or business to be doing that, period. Prince Harry can easily start his new career by building off his already strong interests in veterans and military families, or I would like to say exploiting and grifting off of our veterans and military families, which I know that they're not happy about. The newly named global ambassador for Scotty's Little Soldiers, a charity that focuses on helping children who have lost a military parent, has already been ramping up his engagement in military and veterans affairs. Let me pause for a second. Besides writing a letter of encouragement to Scotty's Little Soldiers on his royal letterhead, What else has Harry done for this charity? Before Veterans Day, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex traveled to San Diego, gracing the grand opening of a new Navy SEAL Foundation's Warrior Fitness Program facility, and dropping in on Operation Biggs, a mentoring program for children of military families. Again, what has Harry done aside from showing up and blessing everyone with their presence? I mean, has he given any money to these charities? No. Did he take money from these charities for this appearance? Most likely. Engagement is not a problem. The challenge will be for Harry to pivot from the anodyne boredom of veterans' charity receptions into the more robust business of having informed, politically relevant opinions on national security. Oh my gosh. There's plenty Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan, can do from their Los Angeles home. A simple video series highlighting the best and worst barracks in the U.S. would win over American troops. Okay, folks, Meghan could barely get out 12 podcasts. You really think that this couple could pull off doing a series on barracks? It'd be like lifestyle luxury living for the American troops? Nah, I don't see it. Or a couple of days spent tagging along with service members or other military workers as they carry out hours-long commutes to and from their duty posts in coastal California might jumpstart some much-needed discussions on U.S. service member quality of life. No one wants Meghan Markle tagging around, and we all know that Meghan will jump on Harry's opportunity because at this moment she has nothing left. So wherever Harry goes, Meghan will be going. This article gets worse as it goes along. This article gets worse. With Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville trying to convert his blanket hold on military promotions into some sort of political screen for woke officers, the Sussex family has plenty of room to act fast, quickly converting the uproar from Endgame's inadvertent revelations over race into a wider context. Race and gender matter for military forces throughout the free world. In the U.S., the Army, with just 53.6% of the force now identifying as white, not Hispanic, is on the cusp of dramatic change. Females are a growing presence in the armed forces, and the U.S. Coast Guard is grappling with a massive, long-standing cover-up of sexual abuse. Both Harry and Meghan can tie their activism to America's naval expansion. Okay, you hear that, America? Harry and Meghan want to extend their wokeism, otherwise known as the cancer on society, onto our military forces. Awesome. With the future of aircraft carriers under debate, both the U.S. Navy and carrier builder Huntington Ingalls Industry would likely welcome wider discussions of the fourth $13.3 billion Gerald R. Ford class carrier. The future USS Doris Miller, named after Mesman's second-class Doris Miller, an African-American whose heroics during Pearl Harbor earned him a Navy Cross, Miller's legacy might prove a fascinating springboard for pushing discussion on institutional racism beyond the royal family, otherwise known as let's exploit this guy now in order for us to be relevant. Obviously, this is Prince Harry's PR trying to salvage his reputation after the bombshells that were dropped or the lies that his wife dropped through Scobie in Endgame. I think his PR people need to realize, and I'm sure that they watch this channel, that America doesn't want this guy in our face 24/7. As is, we are so annoyed with the constant saturation of these stupid articles. But if they think dipping their toe into seeing how America is going to react now that Harry wants to be involved with our national security policy, forget all this other fluff. We need to be concerned and we need to stay focused on it. Harry committed treason against his own country. He has no allegiance to anyone but himself. So to allow him to come to our country, take advantage of all the opportunities that it affords him, then to turn around and stab us in the back? America cannot trust this traitor and his lying wife. In my opinion, he needs to be deported immediately, and why our Congress is not recognizing this is beyond me. The article continues for a little bit about how Harry would be a good influencer for the military. You guys can read the rest of the article. I'll link it below, but a little bit about Craig Hooper. This is the guy who wrote the article. Now, in his bio at the bottom of the article, it says, I offer blunt, uncompromising guidance on national security solutions, bringing complex security issues and oft neglected defense topics to the attention of interested policymakers and the general public. Founder and CEO of the Themistocles Advisory Group, I focus on communications and government relations, as well as maritime, homeland defense, and chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear challenges. Previously, I served as an executive for naval shipbuilder Austal USA, helping deliver littoral combat ships and expeditionary fast transports to the U.S. Navy. With a PhD in immunology and infectious diseases from Harvard University, I have taught at the University of California, the Naval Postgraduate School, and the Monterey Institute of International Studies. In my spare time, I support think tank studies, discuss naval matters at nextnavy.com, or write about the Navy, publishing op-eds and papers in places like the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, the Naval War College Review, the U.S. Naval Institute, Proceedings, and beyond. And the reason why I made it a point to read that out is because, you see, even people who are highly intelligent can be ignorant at times. And here's an instance where I truly believe he doesn't know the full scope of what this guy has been doing. And I honestly believe that whatever has been pushed out into the media here in the United States did saturate it to a place where people do believe Harry is a qualified veteran to handle this stuff. Take a look at some of the comments that were left in the comment section and Craig's response in justifying why he thinks Harry is a good candidate here. We begin with Arya, and her comment was, he left the army because he couldn't pass the exams for promotion. And as for being policy-minded, no. Why should a British prince be driving policy in the U.S. military? So Craig writes back, why not? He served in battle in a military force that has close ties to the U.S. military. He might have some interesting perspectives. And, by virtue of the freedoms inherent in the U.S. Constitution, everyone here has the freedom to speak on whatever they please. Karen DeVore writes, Harry served in the British military. Let him go back there and be a military influencer. Here in the U.S., we want our own retired military heroes to do that. Amen. Harry has no business nor expertise in our American military. So Craig writes back, first, as the UK is one of our closest allies, we fight and operate with the UK Armed Forces all the time. They also buy a lot of US designed or US built gear. Harry flew aboard Apache helicopters designed here, so he has a good bit of expertise. Western militaries have a lot of shared and common problems that Harry is perfectly placed to speak to. His engagement would be nothing but helpful, particularly on tough issues that are hard for U.S. insiders to bring up. Outside perspective is darn useful sometimes. Guest 0620 says, well, those in power have sought to undermine and weaken our military for years now. This is just another nail in that coffin. To think that someone like Harry, an admitted mind-altering substance user, and someone who did not do well in his studies, would somehow be fit to inform anything is ludicrous. The joke is on the American people. POTUS is demented. We have a sitting senator with brain damage. Now this is one big clown show. So Craig writes back, thank you for your comment. Now, you might be interested to know that academic achievement is not a major prerequisite for military service. Right now, a lot of recruits fail the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery and must go to remedial pre-recruitment training. In 2022, the Army even briefly eliminated the requirement that recruits hold a GED or high school diploma. That's interesting. Regarding drug use, the military has gotten far more tolerant on youthful experimentation with drugs. In general, you'll be allowed to join if you don't have a drug conviction or been dependent upon drugs. Certainly, they'll screen folks who have admitted use, but drug use itself will not necessarily preclude a military career. I'm fairly certain the UK evaluated Harry's use of illicit drugs at some point in his career. For a guy who boasted all his credentials at the bottom of this article, it's kind of embarrassing that he would make this kind of comment, especially since we all know that Harry is still using these mind-altering substances to this day. Does anybody want people who are tripping out on the battlefield to be fighting for our country? I don't think so. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with Prince Harry. It does feel like it, but the United States right now is in a serious crunch because there is talk about bringing back the draft. Because right now, our recruitment numbers for our military is at an all-time low. And the talk of possibly getting more people into the military to avoid this is kind of where there has been time and effort put into, marketing this out. So I'm wondering if Prince Harry is part of this influencer military position in which she's making war look sexy. Being a part of the military is sexy. We saw this in the Netflix mockumentary. We saw this at Invictus. Like, they are glamorizing war. And I personally think this is a bad idea because it, of course, is backfiring on this guy. Either he truly is ignorant about Harry's undermining our Constitution, or this is paid PR. I don't think it is paid PR because why would this guy who has all these credentials write something like this unless he was truly not in the know? That's the only explanation that I can give here. There were quite a few people pushing back in the comments section, but he doesn't seem to address or respond to any of it. So American says, as an American, I reject any foreign royal having any influence on any facet of our national defense, legislation, or social policy. Doesn't put the U.S. Constitution forbid such a thing? He's a traitor to his country and has endangered the crown and his countrymen. Even if he lost his titles, he's still untrustworthy. No way, Jose. Then Marine veteran says, you must be kidding. The drug-addled dumb prince of a foreign nation should weigh in on affairs of national security in the U.S.? The only reason he is an officer at all is because his granny was the queen, so he was pushed through the ranks no matter what. He couldn't pass any of his exams, including his pilot's license, without help. Not to mention that his laziness is only surpassed by his entitlement. As the wife of a veteran Marine, I have to say that both myself and my husband are absolutely appalled at this recent push to make Harry a figurehead in the veteran community. The only reason he is head of Invictus Games is because the men in gray he hates so much set it up for him. Stop promoting this man as some kind of asset. If he wants to help veterans, he is welcome to do fundraising. But no, he wants to be the one who gets paid by these charities just to show up and grace them with their presence. Stop this ridiculous promotion of these shameless grifters. Amen. Whoever wrote that, kudos to you. Hats off. Now, these final comments I found particularly interesting. Initially started by DJH, U.S. Navy vet, who is a veteran. They write, as being American, a veteran, I am comfortable with having Prince Harry and his wife becoming an integral part of our military, as he has done with Scotty's Little Soldiers, Invictus, etc. He served in Afghanistan when my son did during Desert Storm. He has done many things to improve our veterans' morale and brought attention to those who were injured and needed hope. My family is all military. My oldest brother served Korean War in the Navy. My sister and brother were Air Force and Marines during Vietnam. My uncles were World War II, and I served in the Navy. Many soldiers killed during many wars during wartime so that we can have our homes and country safe. Don't forget 9/11. We all need to work together to serve our servicemen and women and stop this un-American hate towards someone you don't even know. If you want to do something American, go out and help the veterans who are homeless, can't get health care from the VA, and serve your community and those whose family have been affected by war, deaths to loved ones who served, etc. Oh, and stop believing everything you read from the UK media, who are just out there to distract from the other families' problems they have. A true soldier has each other's back. None of this hate here. Hashtag Endgame. So let's go back to the top here. There are a couple of things that are quite peculiar about this person's post. Well, first of all, when you look at the username, DJH, could that be Duke and just Harry? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But what I find peculiar is this person knew everything about Prince Harry and his activities within the military. Like, I wouldn't have thought about Scotty's little soldiers. I mean, what does he really do for them except write a letter every year for them? Then we have Invictus, of course. I find it quite coincidental that this person decides to lay out his whole entire family's experience with the military. Now, when you think about it, who else has a family that is entirely in the military? Wouldn't that be Prince Harry? And don't you think he would know something about the various wars because of his family serving? I just find it odd that they threw that in there, but then also adding in at the very bottom about the UK media. We're in the United States, so who's to say that anyone reads UK media unless you're truly interested in the royals? And it's not many Americans. So this is why I think this post was made by Prince Harry himself or someone from his PR team. And what I think is going on here is they're trying to find a role for Prince Harry now to be relevant, since there's no way back for him and his family. Not at this point. Unless he leaves his wife, there is zero chance for him to go back and do anything with them. What's concerning to me is that Forbes is a left-leaning media outlet, and they have pushed the Harkle propaganda before. I'm just wondering if now they have paid this guy who is got all these credentials to make it look like he is qualified to do this here in the United States. I personally feel very uncomfortable after hearing that, because we know how they use the media to spin certain narratives and plant seeds. And I believe that this is one of those seeds in which, if we don't speak up, this could get very problematic, especially if he is really trying to become someone to advise on national security and policy. The last thing America needs is for this guy to get any type of government security clearance and access to our intelligence in order to be one of those spokesperson to advise on national policy for our homeland. This is the worst idea that has been brought up. And I know many are saying, yeah, is this serious? Well, I think that's the problem in itself. Many people don't take Meghan and Harry seriously. Many people repeat over and over that they have no pull, no weight. Well, I have to disagree, because all the people that he has been dealing with behind the scenes have been quite dangerous and have done tremendous amount of damage, and right now are being sued. Meghan and Harry have gotten away with so much over the last 6 years, and that's predominantly because their alignment with the censorship industrial complex. Now that that has been exposed, you do realize that more and more people have been speaking out about Meghan. I mean, there's a lot of things that America doesn't really know about what had been going on, and that's because Meghan had the control here. It's only because of those who are interested in this saga, like myself, in seeing how evil and disruptive these two are to society, we're paying attention. Well, now I was surprised, but also a little disappointed that two of my favorite independent journalists, Natalie and Clayton from Redacted, had talked about this race row between the royals and Meghan Markle.
King Charles is the racist we've been trying to figure out all along. He was outed as the racist royal for wondering what his grandchild would look like from his mixed race daughter-in-law. Now, why are we covering this? Because this is a show about geopolitics. Who cares about the royal family? The reason I want to cover this is because I find it to be the cheapest kind of race baiting, and the media loves it.
I agree with Natalie here on this one. The U.S. mainstream media loves to keep racism alive because it allows them to push certain political agendas. Now, Redacted is a show that's focused on trying to sift through all the BS propaganda that's pushed in our country, getting to the facts and truths. I think where they missed an opportunity here is that they do cover the censorship industrial complex. I mean, I've learned a lot from this show that they do Monday through Thursday in covering things that the mainstream media does not talk about. And in this case, I think They should revisit Harry and Meghan, specifically Harry and his involvement with the stories that they are currently covering. Since this is a show about geopolitics, I think they should care about the royal family, especially if they are talking about the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization pandemic treaty, and our freedom slowly be taken away. I think King Charles and the monarchy does have influence, and it would be worth them looking at how their soft power does influence the rest of the world globally. I mean, come on, guys. King Charles just got up on a global stage indicating that it's going to take about $5 trillion a year in order to essentially save the planet.
All these decades later, and despite all the attention, there is 30% more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now than there was back then, and almost 40% more methane. Some important progress has been made, but it worries me greatly that we remain so dreadfully far off track, as the Global Stocktake report demonstrates so graphically. Dealing with this is a job for us all. Change will come by working together and making it easier to embrace decisions that will sustain our world, rather than carry on as though there are no limits or as though our actions have no consequences. As you gather, ladies and gentlemen, for these critical negotiations, the hope of the world rests on the decisions you must take. I can only encourage you to consider some practical questions which might inform the task ahead of you. Firstly, how can our multilateral organizations, which were established at a different time for different challenges, be strengthened for the crisis we face? How can we bring together our public, private, philanthropic, and NGO sectors ever more effectively so that they all play their part in delivering climate action, each complementing the unique strengths of the others? Public finance alone will never be sufficient, but with the private sector firmly at the table and a better, fairer international financial system, combined with the innovative use of risk reduction tools like first loss risk guarantees, we could mobilize the trillions of dollars we need, in the order of $4.5 to $5 trillion a year, to drive the transformation we need.
Who do you think's going to have to pay for that? It's certainly not going to be King Charles or the globalists that are sitting in that room. It's going to come down to people like you and I. We are going to be the ones that have to sacrifice and give up a lot in order to fix their mess. What's upsetting about this is that these globalists are truly building a world just for them. They don't care about the strain and the disruption that it's going to cause on everyday folk like you and I. Take, for example, next spring, New York City is going to be the first city that's going to impose this congestion fee if you enter in a certain zone. So let me just give you the breakdown, since I live here. Starting next year in the spring, if you're driving around New York City and you enter into Midtown, you will be hit with a $15 to $20 fee just for entering into the zone as part of this congestion pricing. And this is supposedly supposed to cut down on emissions and save the planet. So here's how this works. Not everyone is fortunate like I am to live in New York City, although I won't be here very much longer because it's getting to a point where I can't even afford to live here. I mean, it's so expensive. But they're going to make it that much more expensive for those that just want to come into the city and enjoy what the city has to offer. So take, for example, you have a family that doesn't live in New York City and they want to enjoy dinner and see a Broadway show. All the Broadway shows are in Midtown. So if someone wants to use their car or, have that freedom to use their car, now you have to shell out an additional $15 to $20 in addition to the toll that you just paid to get into the city. You haven't even stepped out of your car and you're $40 in. So what it's going to do, it's going to force people to have to take public transportation. And unfortunately, right now, I wouldn't take the subway to go anywhere with all the crime that's happening. Also, if you're coming into New York City for a night out to have fun, do you honestly want to have to be tied to some type of bus or train schedule? I mean, I've been there. I've been there where you miss like one bus, you have to wait another hour, or you have to wait till the next morning. The point I'm trying to make with this is all these little adjustments that the everyday man is going to have to make in order to share the burden of saving this planet from the damage that these globalists have caused is now going to impact our quality of life. So we're not going to be able to travel as often as we would like, or may even be prohibited, considering if they start measuring our carbon footprint, which is definitely in the cards. And what does that sound like? That is communism in purest form. So imagine you can't go anywhere because you're out of your carbon tickets, right? You've used up all your carbon tickets. Is this the world that we really want to live in? Or let's say you can't afford to buy more tickets, then you have to wait till next month to get more carbon credits in order to then go travel to see your mother or father. Like, this is crazy where we're headed. It's a very frustrating thing to see happen right in front of your eyes. Next year, we have our US election, and you can bet that there is going to be some type of chaos that these elites are going to unleash onto us, like what happened with the last election. So you can bet on that. What's it going to be? Is it going to be another mysterious virus floating around, or is it going to be the cyber pandemic that they keep talking about? My guess, it's going to be the latter. Anyhow, I'm going to stop right there before I go off on that tangent, but let me know what you think. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
It was such a fraud.